Not forget, homie, they killed Nipsey Hussle. Eric Holder was not a lone actor in that. If you go back and follow the details, Nip and Big U got into it.
Blacc Sam just broke his silence online, and his reaction has the internet in a frenzy. Rightist federal prosecutors filed updated charges that reportedly connect Big U to alleged threats tied to Nipsey Hussle's tragic ending. The temperature instantly changed.
Big U's son getting killed.
I don't have no thoughts on Big U's son getting killed. When there's blood in the streets, I don't like to talk about it. But I do got thoughts on Big U. I told y'all. Y'all don't gotta listen to a person when I say that every man gonna cry behind them walls. Don't worry about it. No, nigga, I'm a man, nigga. I don't go no, I ain't brother Eli. I don't do no crime, nigga. I'm a gangster. It ain't about you being there. Something can happen.
Court documents are now circulating, and people can't stop reading between the lines. According to the indictment, investigators claim they uncovered wiretapped phone calls where Big U allegedly made serious statements about Nipsey. The language described in those documents is intense. These are accusations presented by federal authorities, not proven facts, but the idea that recorded calls are even part of this situation has stunned a lot of people. And this is where it gets deeper. This isn't just about two men from the same neighborhood drifting apart. This story carries history, loyalty, pride, and what some see as betrayal at the highest level.
You hear me?
The other way.
You hear me?
Right, because you spoke on that, bro, about
When them chaplains come,
worst fear.
the worst fear, yeah, what? It's losing something while you in there.
Yeah.
But you, now you see what it feel like you?
When you look at Blacc Sam's response, it feels layered, like emotions that have been building quietly for years are finally reaching the surface. To really understand how things escalated, you have to understand who Big U was in Los Angeles. Eugene Big U Henley wasn't just another name connected to the rolling 60s. In many circles, he was viewed as a respected figure, someone whose voice carried weight. In the streets, reputation is everything, and Big U had built a strong one. But his vision reportedly stretched beyond that world into music and business. Hip-hop, according to past reports, was seen as a lane towards legitimacy, a chance to reshape his image and build something lasting. That's where Nipsey Hussle comes in. Back in the early 2000s, Nipsey was a young artist chasing opportunity. Reports claim Big U saw something special in him and brought him close.
When Nipsey died, right? When Nipsey got killed, we probably had about 300, 375, 400 kids that was in our program. And I had the travel basketball team. We had a contract with Adidas that was worth about $3 million that Kanye West gave us.
Wow.
Really thriving. Then Nipsey gets killed. Well, after Nipsey get killed, then the rumor goes out, Big U has something to do. Ooh. We lost everything.
You lost all those?
Everyone, I tell you everything.
Wow.
Kanye stopped answering the phone. Adidas stopped answering the phone. And I ended up almost going dead broke because we already committed to this team.
Not just casual guidance. Sources have said Nipsey even stayed at Big U's home at times. That's personal. That's not surface-level industry networking. Big U reportedly set up studio space in his basement so Nipsey could record freely and focus on his craft. Housing, food, studio access, connections. From the outside looking in, it appeared to be a serious investment of time and energy. And in certain environments, when someone helps you rise, that support carries real weight. There have also been claims that Big U helped Nipsey gain studio access through Suge Knight during a time when Suge still had major influence in hip-hop. That kind of introduction wasn't small. It signaled access and protection. Some reports even state that Nipsey was signed under Big U's label, Unique Music, alongside industry executive Steve LaBelle. If accurate, that move suggested an attempt to structure things in a more official way. Again, these details come from past interviews and reported accounts, not courtroom rulings. But the narrative that formed painted a picture of a mentor and student bond that looked more like family than business.
Criminal charges against Eugene Henley Jr., a career criminal known as Big U,
who used his contacts and leadership role in the Crips criminal street gang, the entertainment industry, and a youth charity to further his own criminal.
RICO charges against Mr. Henley and his associates reflect a pattern of crimes that runs the gambit from extortion to robbery to murder to tax fraud and to human trafficking, all under the umbrella of a well-organized criminal organization led by.
And when bonds like that crack, the fallout can hit harder. As Nipsey's career started rising on its own strength, reports suggest tension slowly entered the picture. The exact details have never been fully laid out in public, but some sources mention a disagreement involving equipment at Big U's shop. On paper, that might sound small, but in certain spaces, respect is never small. It's everything.
From Big U's reported perspective, if those accounts are accurate, he had provided shelter, support, and opportunity. He had reportedly opened doors and helped set the stage early on. Then Nipsey released a track that many listeners interpreted as a public message aimed in Big U's direction. Whether that was Nipsey's true intention remains unclear, but perception matters. In circles where image carries serious weight, public words can land heavy. It's not always about emotion, it's about reputation. And when reputation feels challenged in front of the world, reactions can follow. That's why this situation continues to spark debate, especially now with legal documents surfacing and old tensions being revisited in a new light.
Not forget, homie, they killed Nipsey Hussle. Eric Holder was not a lone actor in that. If you go back and follow the details, Nip and Big U got into it. Big U hit Nip Daddy across the head with a bat. His brother had to come out and shoot the gun. Hey, y'all get out. Say, Nip, come on, nigga, we finna come beat you.
And now with Blacc Sam stepping forward and the online conversation exploding, people are looking back at everything with sharper focus than ever before. If a respected figure starts to look weak, some people might see that as an opening. So reportedly, Big U was facing a hard choice: respond and risk making things bigger, or stay silent and risk people questioning his status. And here's what many overlook: private hurt often comes before public drama. When someone you once treated like family seems to call you out in a song, that doesn't just feel strategic, it feels personal. In past interviews and docuseries, Big U has openly spoken about feeling disrespected. He said he tried to handle things internally instead of letting the situation explode. Those are his own public statements, not behind-the-scenes proof. Fast forward to now, and federal prosecutors are presenting accusations on a much more serious level.
But now they pulling me away from the set. The set have made it known nobody's bigger than the set. Nobody's bigger than the program. Nip had gotten bigger than the program. Quando is a reminder that nobody's bigger than the program. But Nip had gotten bigger than the set.
The updated indictment claims Big U made statements investigators viewed as threatening. These are still allegations, not convictions. The legal process is ongoing, and facts are still being sorted out in court. But what really shifted the energy was Blacc Sam's reaction online. He didn't say much, but his tone felt calm, measured, and direct at the same time. When someone that close to Nipsey speaks up during a moment like this, people pay attention. It feels like years of silence finally cracking. For a long time, there's been quiet talk in the community about tension that never fully healed, whispers about broken trust, questions about loyalty, old wounds that never completely closed. Now, with legal documents entering the picture, everything is being pulled back into public view. This goes beyond legal documents. It touches relationships that changed over time, alliances that reportedly fell apart, and a legacy that still means everything to those closest to Nipsey. Emotions don't disappear just because years pass. Sometimes they sit quietly until something brings them back to the surface. At the end of the day, the courts will determine what is legally true and what is not. But this story didn't begin with paperwork. It began years ago with loyalty, ambition, pride, and what some people describe as betrayal. That's where the real tension started. Now let's slow this down, because not everyone understands what certain words mean in specific environments. In some circles, discipline doesn't mean a calm conversation. It can mean serious consequences or pressure. So when reports claim Big U spoke about Nipsey being disciplined, that word carried weight. If those accounts are accurate, it shows how deeply he reportedly felt about what he saw as public disrespect.
In that world, image is everything. Respect isn't just a title. It can feel like survival. If someone checks you in public and you don't respond, some people see that as weakness. That's the mindset people talk about. And when pride takes over, logic can disappear fast. Instead of calm talk or mediation, emotions jump in first. And once ego steps up, clear thinking walks out the door. At first, it didn't explode. Reports say Nipsey's brother, Blacc Sam, stepped in and cooled things down before it got worse. But stopping the moment doesn't erase the tension. It just hits pause. That energy stays in the air. After something like that, it makes sense that Blacc Sam would stay alert and protective. When you see your brother in a serious situation, you don't just forget it. That memory sticks heavy. Then came March 18, 2011, a date many people now call a turning point. The location was said to be near the Shell station at Crenshaw and Slauson and Hyde Park. That wasn't random. That was Nipsey's neighborhood. So when Big U reportedly pulled up there, some saw it as a bold move. In certain streets, showing up in someone's area sends a message without saying a word. Witnesses later said the vibe already felt tense, like something was about to pop off before anything even happened. Accounts claim a physical fight followed. Nipsey was about 25, slimmer in build. Big U was described as taller and physically trained. People who say they were there described it as uneven. Some said Nipsey looked overwhelmed during the scuffle. These are witness descriptions, reflecting how intense the moment felt at the time. Situations like that don't fade away. They stay in people's minds, replayed again and again, especially when later events bring everything back into focus. There's no official footage of the fight, but people who say they were there describe it as wild and chaotic. Some said it didn't look like two men just arguing. It looked like someone trying to send a message. That detail keeps popping up again and again. This is where Blacc Sam steps into the spotlight. Witnesses say Samuel Asgadam, known as Blacc Sam, saw his brother in trouble and reacted fast. Reports claim he fired shots into the air, not at anyone, just to break it up. According to those accounts, the goal was simple: shut it down immediately. That split-second move changed the whole vibe in seconds. When gunshots echo in the neighborhood, even into the air, everything flips. People scatter, fear spreads quick, police show up fast, and that's what reportedly happened. Officers arrived and things escalated again. One officer reportedly fired back in Blacc Sam's direction, but missed. Authorities later said he pointed the weapon toward them, but some witnesses pushed back on that version, saying he was only firing upward to stop the fight. Two completely different stories, and both have stayed in the conversation ever since. 5 people were detained, but only Blacc Sam faced charges, specifically assault with a deadly weapon. Big U was not charged in connection to that fight. That alone sparked years of talk and raised serious questions in the community. Supporters say Blacc Sam was protecting his brother in a chaotic moment. Legally though, firing a gun in public is treated as extremely serious, no matter the reason. Both truths existed at the same time, and that's why the aftermath got so complicated. Many believe the tension didn't fade after that. It hardened. Now with the recent federal indictment, prosecutors allege there were years of hostility behind the scenes. These are court allegations, not final rulings. The legal process is still ongoing. The person convicted in Nipsey Hussle's tragic death was someone else entirely. Big U is not being convicted of that act, but now federal authorities argue that what they describe as long-term intimidation and alleged threats may have created a toxic atmosphere. That's the government's position, and it will be tested in court. What seems clear is that the relationship between Big U and Nipsey didn't break in one night. People say it cracked slowly, right in public view. The tension built step by step, and many in the community felt it. And through every phase of the story, Blacc Sam's name has been there from the day one. When prosecutors filed the superseding indictment, the language hit hard. The document paints Big U as someone who allegedly used pressure and influence to hold control. One of the most explosive parts involves recorded conversations about Nipsey that investigators say they collected over several years. According to the indictment, authorities built their case quietly, with wiretaps and surveillance connected to larger investigations. Prosecutors argue these weren't random clips. They claim the conversation showed a pattern of intimidation. That's the argument, not a verdict, but it's now part of the public record. One section describes Big U allegedly talking about how he handled someone linked to the Rolling 60s, known as OG Crip CX. Prosecutors say he claimed the person was physically confronted over alleged disrespect and hinted it could have gone further. Again, these are claims written in court documents, not decisions made by a jury. Then the focus shifts to Nipsey. In one part of the filing, prosecutors quote Big U allegedly saying that if things had gone differently, he wouldn't be here or I wouldn't be here. The government interprets that as tying reputation and status to extreme consequences. That's their view, and it will be challenged in court. What really grabbed attention was the tone described in these alleged talks. Prosecutors argue it didn't sound emotional or heated. They claim it sounded calm and deliberate, like serious harm was being discussed as part of keeping authority. That framing added major weight to the case. There's also a reported wiretap call from December 31st, 2022, more than 3 years after Nipsey's life was taken. Federal documents claim Big U allegedly said he was bigger than Nipsey and had disciplined him. That timeline shocked a lot of people. Years had passed, yet Nipsey's name was still coming up in intercepted calls. Prosecutors say that points to resentment that never faded. Defense attorneys are expected to argue context matters, and their words can sound different when pulled from bigger conversations. That clash will unfold in court. From the outside, these allegations have stirred major questions and heavy debate. Now it's up to the courts to sort out what was said, what was meant, and what can actually be proven. Until a verdict comes down, this is an active legal fight that's dragging old tensions right back into the spotlight. Another intercepted call dated January 1st, 2023 added even more heat. According to the indictment, prosecutors claim Big U allegedly said, "If anyone beefs with Big U, I'm gonna kill him, period." Those are the government's quoted words straight from the filing. Big U has not been convicted on these new charges, and the case is still moving through the system. Still, words like that hit hard. Prosecutors argue it suggests someone who may have viewed violence as a way to hold control, not just a last resort. That's their interpretation, and it will be challenged in court. Defense attorneys are expected to push back hard, arguing context matters and that statements can sound different when isolated from the full conversation. The indictment also lists other alleged incidents. In one example, prosecutors claim Big U threatened a South Los Angeles business after workers refused to give him a discount. In another, they allege he talked about being in rival territory while making aggressive remarks. These are accusations written in court documents, not proven facts. Federal authorities argue this wasn't random talk. They claim there was a pattern tied to intimidation, reputation, and sometimes associates reinforcing authority. The filing even says he referenced having 2 blowers, which in street slang often points to firearms. That detail alone grabbed attention and raised the stakes. Prosecutors are bringing this case under the federal RICO statute. That law is often used for alleged criminal enterprises, not just single incidents. Under RICO, the government can argue someone directed or benefited from unlawful activity, even if they didn't personally carry out every act. That's a huge piece of this case. To be clear, the federal case does not charge Big U with directly taking Nipsey Hussle's life. That case was handled in state court, where Eric Ronald Jr. was convicted and sentenced to 60 years to life. That verdict is final. What prosecutors are presenting now is broader. They allege a long-running operation built on influence, pressure, and intimidation over time. That's the structure they're laying out, and whether it stands will be decided in court. Right now, everything sits inside legal filings, claims, counterclaims, and non-stop back and forth. The courtroom is where it all gets tested for real. Until a verdict comes down, every new document keeps this story under a harsh spotlight, adding more layers to a history that was already complicated.
Prosecutors argue the alleged threats tied to Nipsey weren't one-off moments. They claim it was part of a bigger pattern of control. That's the government's position. When news of the charges broke, Blacc Sam's response stood out in a major way. He didn't sound shocked, he sounded steady, almost like he saw this coming. His reaction felt measured, like tension that had been building quietly was finally out in the open. If prosecutors are right, they're saying this was long-term pressure, not random drama. But that's just one side. The defense will bring its own version, and both sides will be pressed hard in court. What reportedly started as mentorship, guidance, and opportunity is said to have shifted over time. Support turned into distance, Distance turned into rivalry. When pride and reputation mix, things can heat up fast. Federal prosecutors included what they call overt acts, pointing to examples they believe show a pattern. RICO cases aren't small. They usually take years of surveillance and recordings to build. The fact that wiretap quotes are now public shows prosecutors believe their case carries weight. Still, charges are not convictions. Defense attorneys will challenge context, intent, and how statements were framed. In the end, it won't be headlines deciding. It'll be a jury inside a courtroom. According to these filings, the story didn't stop in 2019. Prosecutors claim it carried on in alleged conversations and pressure behind the scenes, and now it's unfolding in federal court with old tensions stepping back into the light. Now here's where the money angle changes the energy. Prosecutors claim Big U's alleged operation was pulling in serious cash from people who may have felt pressured to cooperate. Their theory suggests some entertainment figures with street ties felt stuck, especially if going to law enforcement didn't seem like a real option. According to the indictment, that gray area allegedly made the setup profitable. What really stands out are the wiretaps. The government says Big U spoke openly on recorded calls about Nipsey, Rolling 60s members, and other associates. Prosecutors argue those conversations became key evidence in building their case. If the government's version holds up, that direct talk could bring major legal consequences. Investigators claim the recordings show patterns they believe point to influence and control, but that's their interpretation, and it'll be challenged hard in court. Nothing has been decided. The filing also mentions broader allegations tied to drug distribution. Those are accusations, not proven facts. Defense attorneys are expected to push back strongly, and that part of the case is still unfolding. Some observers believe outside pressures and alleged behind-the-scenes tension may have added weight around Nipsey's movements in his final years. While he focused on business, ownership, and investing in South Los Angeles, prosecutors now allege a different type of activity was happening at the same time. That contrast is what makes this situation hit so hard. On one side, Nipsey Hussle was building opportunity and growth in his community. On the other, federal prosecutors claim Big U operated through intimidation and control. Those are serious accusations, and they will be tested in federal court. To be clear, Eric Ronald J. Jr. has already been convicted and sentenced for Nipsey's passing. This federal case is separate. It focuses on whether a broader pattern of alleged activity existed over time. That's the legal battle now unfolding.